now that we are marking the one-year anniversary of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, it's pretty clear that there are no two nations whose pandemic experience has been more different than those of America's and Australia. That's particularly true now that Joe Biden is, and I use this phrase advisedly, in charge. This week, Joe Biden delivered an address to the United States in which he promised that maybe, if everything went well, Americans could just possibly enjoy a bit of a cookout together on July 4th. Maybe. Have a look, and I'm sorry to do this to you, and I hope you've had plenty of coffee this morning.
We do all this, if we do our part, if we do this together, by July the 4th, there's a good chance you, your families and friends will be able to get together in your backyard or in your neighborhood and have a cookout or a barbecue and celebrate Independence Day. That doesn't mean large events with lots of people together, but it does mean small groups will be able to get together. After this long, hard year, that will make this Independence Day something truly special, where we not only mark our independence as a nation, but we begin to mark our independence from this virus. But to get there, we can't let our guard down. This fight is far from over. As I told the woman in Pennsylvania, I'll tell you the truth. On July 4th, with your loved ones, is the goal. But a lot can happen. Conditions can change. The scientists have made clear that things may get worse again as new variants of the virus spread.
This is, of course, panic porn of the first order that Joe Biden is peddling. The president offered the most dark and dismal prognosis possible, particularly when vaccines are rolling out in America at the rate of more than 2 million a day. Yet what he said is not what's happening at all in the country. In the U.S., coronavirus cases have been declining ever since that massive rollout of vaccines started, a rollout that was credited to the development and pushed along so effectively by Donald Trump's Operation Warp Speed. Not that Biden, of course, was gracious enough to acknowledge it. In states like Florida, people have been gathering together safely for months now, and the state is doing far better in terms of cases than heavily restricted and lockdown jurisdictions like California and New York. And the U.S. is now administering, as I said before, an incredible 2.5 million doses of the vaccine a day, meaning that the country could achieve something pretty close to herd immunity by that July 4th deadline that Joe Biden was so pessimistic about. So what's going on? Well, we know that politicians, particularly on the left, have had no trouble using the coronavirus as a crisis to push other political agendas, like climate change. And in the U.S., of course, we've seen, sadly, the home of religious liberty. Democrats in particular in places like New York used the pandemic to target Christian churches and Jewish synagogues. And as the New York Times revealed, some people, mostly in officialdom it seems, have a perverse desire for this thing to go on forever. See that headline, "The U.S. is edging towards normal," alarming some officials. So what does that have to do with Australia? Well, simply this. As far as I can tell, we here in Australia have two choices. Quickly ramp up the vaccination of the elderly and the vulnerable and get back to normal, even if that means some degree of coronavirus circulates among the general population, where it is unlikely to be much of a problem, even as we allow international tourists back in and put an end to quarantine. Or we can get stuck in the quicksand of the attitude embodied by Health Department Secretary Brendan Murphy, who seemed to echo Joe Biden when he said this week, quote, "This is not a race. We have no burning platform in Australia. We are taking it as quickly and carefully as safely as we can. We are not like the U.S. or UK or most other countries in the world where they have got old people in the hospital actually dying." But with respect, Professor Murphy, we do have a burning platform, our economy and our budget deficit, which is ballooning every time the government hits the button on the money printer to keep another industry going. This past week, it was $1.2 billion to keep tourism afloat, and who knows what it will be next week. Every one of those dollars will have to be paid back by you and me and our children, or even, God help us, our grandchildren. And the sooner we get the country vaccinated and open up to the world, the sooner we can stop this burden on future generations.